Have you ever found yourself in a space in life where it feels like a whirlwind? I ask that question somewhat rhetorically because I know that many of us felt that in 2020 and have felt that at many other time spaces in our life as well. It's interesting when life brings us different turns, and the ever popular word of pivoting in 2020 is our only response that we have. Of course, we could pull over the covers over our eyes and just go right back to sleep. But the reality is we can only do that for so long. And yes, I'm totally for grabbing that small container of ice cream and binge watching whatever it is that you want to on TV. My personal favorite is The Bachelor and Talenti Gelato. But we can't sit there every day of our life. We have to be able to find something that sets our soul on fire, that purpose, that passion, that little voice inside of us. And today, our guest on the podcast is going to talk about how those little pieces of passion, taking ownership in our life and looking for the impacts that we can make in our community can actually create a tidal wave of change in our world. So on today's podcast, we welcome entrepreneur, business owner, philanthropist, and just a true change maker, Brandy Vuth. I'm excited to welcome her and have you all join in her wisdom, and hopefully you leave this podcast more empowered than when you started listening to it. So tune in and always share if you find it valuable. Brandy, thank you for joining us on the Thrive Forward podcast. You know what? I think Thrive is the thing that you're doing right now so well in the midst of a crazy snow and ice storm. So for those of you that are listening, Brandy is in Texas in the midst of a crazy snowstorm. And I'm in Minnesota where we're used to those things, but in Texas, they're just not set up for it.
No, we're not. We're not. We're not set up for 12 inches of snow on the ground and ice, and our power grids aren't set up for the drain on the heaters, and my poor internet is not accustomed to the ice buildup. So here we are, we're thriving today.
We're making the most of it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and share your wisdom and mission with us. I thought we would start with kind of how did you get to the space that you are in right now of moving the mission forward around advocacy and empowerment, especially for those individuals who are experiencing or have lived through human trafficking, which is a huge topic here in Minnesota as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, for starters, just thank you. Like, thanks for having me. And I never take it for granted when someone invites me onto their platform and the opportunity to share with their network. So thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for your patience today because, that's where we're at. And just where I got started, man, it's crazy because when you look back, everything makes so much sense. Like when you look back over a journey that you've been walking or something you've been building or something you've been creating. And when you're in the midst of it, none of it seems intertwined or connected in the beginning. It just seems like, oh my gosh, like I'm pulled in a lot of different areas, and how can this all be working together and making sense? And so it's fun to be on and look back at the journey and talk about it from this place that I'm in. By no means am I at the end of the destination, because that just means that I'm like dead or something. But
right.
But
I completely agree.
Yeah. It's like, I won't ever reach a place where I'm like, oh, I'm done. I've done it. Right. But yeah, just looking backwards is really cool because it started in 2017. So I had success with business, and I built a global skincare sales team. And I really enjoyed training women, leading women, developing leadership within my organization. And so while we were on a business trip in Australia, I saw a sign that was talking about like immigrants being targeted for trafficking. And at this time, I was in a place where I had a lot of personal achievement success, and really felt like I was like in my stride of like, this is what I'm meant to do. But at the same time, I had this pull and this yearn of there's a bigger thing that you're being called to do, and you need to like step into that. And so I went into it really at that point of time. I was really in a place of like open hands, open heart, like here I am, tell me what I'm supposed to do next and I'll do it. And so while we were there and we saw this billboard, my first thought was like, "Oh my gosh, Australia is shady." And I'm certain that I had seen the word trafficking before, but that's the first time of my memory that I remember ever like seeing the word, paying attention to it, having it resonate. And so after that, we saw a couple of like missing child posters in a casino that talked about trafficking and in an airport. And so it kind of just became front of mind. And I didn't just have a light bulb moment that was like, oh, that is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? It was like, interesting. That's scary. That's shady. I want nothing to do with it. So I came home and really just started researching at this time, like what was it?
Mhm.
Shocker, it's happening all over the United States in our very own backyards. And so along this, like I just start researching, I start getting involved with nonprofit organizations. I knew that I had once I found out like what it was, what it looked like in the US, and that it was bodies being sold as commodities, and anything that was being done through force, fraud, or coercion against someone else's will, was trafficking. So the more I looked into it, I really felt like I was being called to serve survivors in the restoration piece.
Mm.
I never ever, I mean, from the get-go, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna be like a front lines girl in the like extraction and rescue place, but I feel like I'm meant to like mentor people on the restoration side because that's what I already did in business at the
Mm.
time. And so it was funny because in the midst of having this happening where I was like meeting people that were founding organizations and meeting women that had come out of trafficking and had spent 2 days out of an entire year like under a roof before they came to this program, and they were turning their lives around, and I was just seeing like redemptive stories of resiliency and persistence. And at the same time, I was encountering women in business that oftentimes had very limited mindset and um, limiting beliefs and self-doubt and imposter syndrome. And so I was like, this is crazy. I've got this dichotomy of like, here's these people that are doing big things, massive, right? And then it's like,
Mhm.
here's someone else that has all the privilege in the world and all the resources at their fingertips, and they just are like stuck between their own ears in not taking the step forward into like creating impact and stepping into their purpose and stepping into their call. I just thought, okay, so the best way to convince these women that they can do anything they set their minds to is to show them women that are stepping out of their comfort zones and following their calls in life and just really, doing major things, creating massive impact. And so that's where like the Power Project was born from. It was this idea that okay, so I work with women and I'm mentoring women. I teach them business and sales and leadership training, and I host some retreats there. But I'll create a podcast and I will introduce them to some people that I'm meeting that are pretty rad, doing awesome things, and they can hear these stories where it's not a celebrity, it's not a person with a million followers on Instagram, it's not someone huge with a massive realm of influence. It's like a person that's creating impact within their personal sphere of influence. And
Mhm.
so I started bringing in that. I've always felt really strongly that it was just a place to spotlight women that are leading purpose filled lives and owning their power and creating impact through the channels of business, ministry, and philanthropy. So that's where it was birthed, and it turned into a podcast. From the podcast, we've gone into I've written a book called The Power Project, A Journey of Purpose, and it has the entire story of really starting in 2017 up until today. And yeah, we host retreats, we do conferences, I do business coaching, life coaching, and in the midst of all of that, I started teaching a business and life coaching course to survivors
Mhm.
of trafficking. And I mean, it's really awesome because it's one thing to sit with women that have quit believing that they can do like far more than what they think they're capable of, which by the way is most women that I sit across the table from.
Mm-hmm.
But it's another thing when it's someone that it's not that they even quit dreaming, it's maybe that they were never allowed to dream in the first place ever.
Yeah.
And taking someone like that um can sit across the table from me and say, I don't know why I'm on this earth. Like I've been abused since I was 2 years old and I don't know why God put me here. And I'm 52 now. And by the end of our course, having that same person tell me, like, I know that I was created on purpose and for purpose. And I know that I have a call in life. And I know that I'm here for a reason. Like, it's awesome. That's like the entire Power Project in a nutshell is like helping people just realize their strengths and their gifts and like who they were truly created to be and how they show up and serve the world.
I think that transformation process is so key for us to remember. I mean, I too have many different passions, and I think they're starting to come together. So I love hearing your story about how they are now shaping into a well melded space, right? I think when we're seeing more and more businesses who are really looking into a space of impact. Like, how do you grow that purpose within in small stages, right? Like we don't all have to. In fact, if we all just impacted in a small area, how much that would give a ripple effect rather than
Mhm.
just that one person making a huge social media impact, we'll call it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I love that you said ripple effect because I always say, like, my desire in life, my passion in life is to create an army of individuals that are creating a tidal wave of impact. Because if right now you may stand on the shore of whatever body of water you see, right? And you can throw like one pebble in and you see a ripple. But if we have this whole army of people that are each throwing a pebble at a time, we can create that tidal wave. And so that's my purpose in life. That's my goal, is to just help people realize how you can impact that area that you're placed in at that moment, and realize that like you already have whatever it takes to do what it is you're being called to do.
Yeah, and it doesn't there's like not this magic sparkly formula that you have to figure out, or it doesn't have to be that you're creating six figures of income or that you're climbing a corporate ladder, right? That
Mhm,
you're just really trying to find out what's within that drives
mhm.
your soul, and then how does that make the world a better place at the end of the day?
Yeah.
How do you I mean, we've lived through 2020 and now Snowmageddon in
I know.
in
I'm like, listen,
Texas.
I'm like, all the like conspiracy theories about 2020, I'm like, and then I'm like, all of a sudden this like blue ice cloud is on the radar for Texas for like 7 days straight. And I was like, yeah, that they're all right. It's the end of the world. Like, here I am, Jesus, take me now. We're done.
Well, I mean, I did have to giggle a little bit at some of the posts that I saw in Texas because I was like, yeah, you guys, like we this is like every winter. There was
Yes.
there
Yeah.
was one January, we literally, I think my kids went to school, Brandy, 4 days of the entire month because that's how cold it was.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No, no. Like,
And it was
I mean,
right
we,
after
yeah.
Christmas break. Like,
Oh yeah.
so you had
Yeah.
them
No.
home all Christmas break and then they're home because it's so damn cold outside. The day I
No,
was
it kind
born,
of,
my parents
yeah.
told me it was negative 80 degrees with wind chill here.
Wait, -8? No, that,
I
no.
think that my mother is exaggerating, but she says that there's a newspaper like cover story. I don't know. We'll see.
I would look it up. I would look it up because it's -4, -5, I think is what we hit. And it's just, it kind of feels like last year when all the kids came home for spring break and then never went back to school. We were all like, please take them back next week. Please, like, please just let the sun come out and let them go back to school.
Right. Well, I think that that's like it's almost like this visualization of life though, right? Because life is going to bring us these challenges or obstacles that we've got to like move through and function through. How do you get out of that muck and kind of keep that level of going forward. I don't always like to say like positivity, because you don't always have, like, it doesn't have to be positivity. It's like, yeah, this crap sucks. Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to try to get up every single day and move through it. How do I do that in a way that doesn't make me want to lay in bed every single day?
Oh yeah. And I mean, listen, the difference between like success and failure is the willingness to get back up and keep moving. And it doesn't mean that we do it with like rainbows and butterflies. I mean, we were poised in 2020. This so a year, let's go like a year ago from
Mhm.
today,
Well, and
which
when your
was
episode airs, Brandy, it will be the 1 year anniversary of like everything like shutting down.
of the world falling into a giant dumpster fire. Yes.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, so let me just set the scene for like everyone listening. So a year ago, right now, like while we're recording in February, I was shooting a cover for my book, like, and we were trying to hurry up and like hit a deadline to get the cover because we had I had a conference in LA, like a personal development conference in LA to speak at. 10,000 people in attendance. Like March 19th was the day that I'd be speaking at that. Um, that was going to be like my official like launch of the book itself. And then we had a book tour, like an international book tour that we were doing. And so that was all set up. That's what I was prepping for right now. I was set up for the busiest year of my life as far as like, appearances and speaking engagements. The hat company that we haven't even gotten into yet, the hat company, I was scheduled to place orders for the hats themselves with my manufacturer in the week of like March 13th, I believe. And then I had where we provide transitional employment to traffic survivors at the hat company. So I had community mentors set up to teach the girls how to stamp leather bands the same week of like March 13th to the 19th. Um, like so many big things. Like it was like the precipice of um exponential instead of addition, right? Like we had been building and building and building and been in the addition phase, and then like the exponential was right there. And it literally within 48 hours, everything came crashing around us. And my husband and I have multiple businesses, and I was like trying to finish up income taxes because I knew
Mm.
that I was going out of town and I had to have everything done, before all of this, and knew that like the COVID situation was hanging out there. And I have enough friends in other countries and other states that even when it wasn't here, I was like painstakingly aware of what was
Yep.
happening, but it was distant, right? Like it was not close to home yet. And so I remember like when everything happened that week, that March 13th was a Friday, and I was doing my taxes, and all of a sudden I start reading, like getting like alerts, and we are in the aerospace manufacturing industry. We make parts for airplane seats. Great industry to be
Mm,
in
mm.
2020. And then we're also in oil and gas production. And so within 48 hours, oil took the biggest hit that it had taken since the Gulf War. And then like the president of Southwest Airlines like went public saying this would be the biggest hit, bigger than 9/11, affecting the aerospace and aviation industry. And so I remember like calling my husband, like bawling, like crying, like, and I'm like falling apart. I'm like, you have to get the kids from school. I can't get my stuff together. What are we going to do? And my husband was super like reassuring in the fact where he was like, listen, babe, like, I don't know if you've been watching the news, which I haven't. He's like, there are people in really dire situations right now. Like, we're better off than the majority of the world. Like, we're going to be fine. And so I'm like, okay, okay. He's like, besides all that, like personal development does great during like economic recession. You're going to be okay with your business and what you've got going on. People are going to need motivation, inspiration. And so then 2 days later, my conference was canceled. The book publisher shut down. Couldn't even print the books if we wanted to print the books. All of my employees were like shut down into quarantine, stay home orders, isolation. And so then literally like the wheels fell off my bus. I was like, okay. So I'm a God girl, and I feel like the things that I do are pretty well like aligned, and I try to like follow that greater call that I'm following, right? And I was like pissed. I mean, I was like, okay, all right, let's go. Like, this is what you've brought me to. Like, I have like spent like literal, like just blood, sweat, tears, time away from my family, like time, like my other businesses that made me great money that didn't require nearly the toil that this does have suffered because I've been building all of these other things to create, to meet a need that I saw. And I spent 3 years writing a book, and we're ready to print, and we're ready to promote, and all of a sudden, like, I got
Mhm.
nothing, you know? I mean, I literally so I sat, like, in my bedroom, I'll never forget, and I'll be like, "If this is the door I'm supposed to walk through, it needs to be made really crystal clear, and if it's not, I need doors to just slam shut in my face, and I'm done. Like, I'll just turn around and walk away." And so I sat for about 2 months of literally being, like, paralyzed, where I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now. I have no clue." Um, I'm an Enneagram 3, so I'm an achiever,
Mm,
so I love, like,
me too.
I love planning. Yeah, I love planning things, I love crushing things, I love looking at what's the next thing we're doing,
Mhm.
and I just went into, like, the unhealthy version of an Enneagram 3 where I'm like, I need some popcorn and Netflix and a bottle of wine. And I was like, we're going to go broke. Maybe we're going to die. Maybe we're going to go broke and die. I don't know, but I'm just going to sit here. And so, um, went through that phase. And then it was just like one day I kind of woke up and was like, nope, this is what we're supposed to be doing. We just have to find a different way to do it, than what we had initially planned on doing. And okay, so all conferences were canceled. How do we pivot and how do we still spread that message to women that we feel like we're supposed to spread? So, we did a long pre-sale on our hats, a virtual pre-sale, and amped up all social media reach for that, and really got people on mission and on board with what we were doing before we ever had a hat, in production. And then, I also planned and hosted a glamping retreat where I like sent out kind of a message and was like, would you be willing to come to, a stranger's private land in the middle of North Texas and bring your own tent or your own camper? And it's going to be like a women's retreat and a women's conference combined. And it was beautiful. We had 40 women from all over the US come in, and I knew like 5 out of 40 before the retreat,
Wow.
and it was awesome, and it was just like, "Okay, so we're gonna pivot and we're gonna do it," and, um, the hat launch was super successful. Our book launch has been really successful. We haven't necessarily, I wouldn't say that 2020 hurt any of what was projected for the year. It just looks completely different than what it would have looked, and I wasn't happy about the way it looked to begin with. I was really upset and really, like, bummed out, but it turned out, so many things came out of the way that we did things differently that are so beautiful, and I was able to do all of it without even, like, leaving my family and being with my family nonstop, and they were kind of able to come in and see an inside look at building this business and launching this business and hosting this retreat. And so, yeah, I don't think that, like, I like to say, like, how can we turn that obstacle into an opportunity? But
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that I'm, like, cheering and clapping and, like, clicking my heels over the obstacle. It just means that I'm going to, like, reverse engineer how we get over that hump and figure that out and go whatever direction it's leading us.
Yeah, when shit storms happen, as I like to call them, it doesn't
Uh-huh.
mean that we have to approach them like, it doesn't mean that we have to approach them like, "Oh, yay, I was blessed with this." Like, there's somewhere in between, and it's okay to feel those levels of emotions through anything. Like, I talk about that in terms of grief too. I think a lot of what we experienced in 2020 and going into 2021 was the cycle of grief for many of us.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
I launched my business in January of 2020.
Yeah, so you feel me.
I completely and utterly feel you. I had like all of these goals for what it was going to look like. And when everything happened, I'm like, well, great. Now I have two little people at home and I'm running a business. how the heck am I going to do this? Because my husband is deemed as an essential employee. He sells booze.
Mhm.
So for some people, he is
He's
very
essential.
essential.
He's essential, especially during 2020 or Snowmageddons.
Yeah, well, he has had a very good sales year. Like
Yeah.
the wine industry, not hurt
Mhm.
by
Mm-mm.
anything. In fact,
Mm-mm.
very boosted by everyone's. Although we did say, like, is this the right space that we're supposed to be in 2020 that we want to encourage people to drink more? But I always say that I overcompensate for his sinful behavior in what I do. But I think it is, you bring up such great points of like, we can go through the roller coaster, the motions of grief, and experience just different things. And then the outcome could be essentially the same. We just change the plan, of course. The word pivot became very popular in 2020, and I think a little bit overused. But I've always done that. That's part of what I do with my clients. Like, my job is to look at everything possible that could happen that could suck, and like, how do we make sure that we're ready to approach those types of things for them? And that's one piece that I feel very impactful with. So I mean, those are things that I see every single day, and having to walk through them personally has allowed me to have those conversations a little bit easier with my clients.
A true entrepreneur and a true like person with an ownership mentality versus like an employee mentality is
Mhm.
going to look at a situation and say, oh, okay, so that didn't work, but we don't close shop just because that didn't work, right? Like we
Mhm.
just look at it like, okay, this is how we're going to make it work. And um so I think that it's given a lot of individuals the opportunity to really like shine in the midst of everything, because the people who two step in, in the midst of uncertainty are the people that are going to be long term successful. Like they're going to be the people, like Tom's shoes was built in the middle of an economic recession. Like there's
Mhm.
Apple was in the middle of an economic downturn. It's the visionaries and the innovators that say, oh, okay, so things aren't going great, but I can either wallow and buy all the booze that this dude sells, or I can like hop on a call with his wife and figure out what is the best like financial steps I can take in order to do this other thing. So I love it. But yeah, I think I'll call it two step because I'm over the pivot.
I love it. I love two step. I'll bring it up north. I'll bring the two step up north. We can talk
I
about the
dig
two
it.
step up north.
Yeah, I dig it.
So let's talk a little bit about like the aspect of not everyone is a business owner. You and I are.
Mhm.
And you coach several women who are, business owners as well, but then individuals who are not. So how do you target that element of wanting to move into that empowerment stage? You just said this, and that's what made me think of it, that employee versus owner mindset, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of times we just want to operate as a an individual that just is like robotic, right? I think we look at it I have two questions for you. How do you look at it from the person's standpoint? And then how do you look at it from the company standpoint? How do we create cultures that make people not want to be a robot either? You
Mhm.
start with either one.
Mhm. Okay, so I get real jazzed on this, just FYI. It's one of my favorite things because I think taking ownership is really crucial in life. And yeah, not everyone's cut out to be an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Not everyone has any desire whatsoever to be a business owner. When I sit down at the table, I'm going to map out your journey and your plan, and we're going to look at, do you have any desire to build and create something of your own? If not, and you're like advancing within your corporate career, great. We're going to learn how to take ownership while we advance through the corporate career. If you're like super happy serving and letting other people, do the heavy lifting, then we're going to look at how you're going to take ownership in your role and how you show up for your community. So I think that whether you are driving a bus or cleaning a toilet or the greeter at Walmart, you can take ownership of how you show up for the community around you, right? Like you can
Hmm.
show up and say, I'm going to show up with a servant's heart. I'm going to show up with gratitude for this job that I have. I'm going to show up and say, I have money that is like paying my bills because I get the opportunity to come to this job every day, right? That's taking ownership. Like an employee mentality is going to mumble and grumble and gripe about the job that they have to go to get the paycheck, but at the end of the day, like if you don't like it, take the ownership to change it, right? If you don't like
Hmm.
it, take the steps to change your landscape, whatever it is. But when and as a business owner, like the best thing that you can do is be an employee that takes ownership. Like I'm so grateful for those employees that they don't wait for me to assign the next thing for them to do, but they say, I've done this. Is it cool if I move on to this project? Is it okay if I take some burden off your shoulders and I go over here and file the file cabinet? Like those are the people that are going to stick with me forever. But I think that in order to create that culture within your company and create the culture that you want, you have to be a servant leader, because no one's going to take ownership for someone that's not willing to serve their entire company, their entire community. But B, you have to invite them into the vision and you have to bring them into the ownership piece, right?
Hmm.
And also you have to know who you're appointing and that you're not placing the wrong people in the wrong position. Don't expect people to show up for something that they're clearly telling you they don't want to show up for. And I can tell you this from personal experience that we've wanted something really bad for employees and placed them in positions that really required them to take a great deal of ownership, and they never wanted the ownership in the first place. So
Hmm.
I think that you have to make sure that you're on board on the same page. So when I do an interview at our manufacturing facility where we make airplane seat parts, I ask first and foremost, are you willing to clean the toilet? And
Mm.
the way that that person answers it, I don't care what their resume says, is going to tell me whether I want to hire them or not. Because I had one guy that said, I don't want to go backwards. And I was
Mm.
like, well, you're going to go backwards through the door you just walked in, because my husband's the president and he cleans the toilet when it needs to be cleaned. So that's the type of employee we're looking for. We're looking for a company where our culture is, and it's the same way in my hat business, it's the same way in all of our businesses. We are going to invite you into something that you can be a part of. And we're going to ask you to take ownership. And we're going to ask you to put the good of the business and the company as our forefront. And in turn, if you show up for us and you do that, we're always going to have your backs. Like we're always going to serve you. In 2020, we did not lay off a single person in our aerospace manufacturing facility, which there's no other company around here that can say that. Um, we not only did we not lay anyone off, they all got their 2 weeks vacation and they all got their Christmas bonuses. And
That's phenomenal.
um, and I mean, and this was a conversation. Look, I'm going to be honest. Like, my husband's the good guy. I'm the bad guy that is like
Mhm.
running numbers. And I'm like, nobody gets bonuses this year. Nobody gets vacation. I'm shutting it down. And my husband is, I tell everyone, he's like my OG business mentor. He was like, listen, if it means that I don't take a vacation or a family trip for my guys to get bonuses that they've already counted on, I'm going to step up and
Mm.
say they get the bonus. And so I think that when you really truly like treat your employees like they're part of the bigger vision, and you go to them and you say, "Hey guys, we're doing everything we can to keep these doors open right now." Like, I mean, we were upfront with everyone last year in the middle of it, and we said we might keep the doors open, we might have to close the doors, there's no telling, but we're going to fight for you, and we just ask that you do the same for us. When you're here, make sure you're being productive, and when we got to cut hours, make sure you're cutting your hours. And so that's how you create that culture of ownership at all levels, is that bringing them into the narrative and into the mission. And same goes for the hat company. When I started creating the hat company, I was talking with my mentees that are survivors of trafficking, and talking to them about what it would look like and what they would want to learn. And they start out stamping leather bands and putting words on the hats.
Mhm.
And that's something that is entry level, that doesn't require a great skill set. and it provides quick cash for them when they're in the midst of like transitioning into gainful employment after the aftercare home. But what they really need to learn and want to learn for marketable skills is sales and marketing training and bookkeeping and inventory management. And so we while we're building, I'm talking to them like, what, how can we show up and teach you these other things that you need to know? Okay, you struggle with computer skills. Let's get someone in here that can teach you some computer skills.
Mhm.
And and when the wheels fell off right when we were launched, to put them to work, I was upfront and honest. I'm like, I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm just saying not right now. But as soon as it does, we'll pick back up.
I think communication plays such a key part in everything that we do, but we lack that awareness around really strong communication.
Yeah. And just like treating people and showing up for people in the best way you can, right? Like, there you may have someone I talk with women often that are in the corporate space and they're like, I make great money, but I just I feel like there's more I could be doing in life. And I feel like there's a greater purpose I can be serving. And it's like, but are you stewarding what you have well? Like, are you being transparent with the people that you're in charge of right now? Are you mentoring them you're at right now? Are you being like crazy, like vulnerable with the people that you're
Mhm.
in charge of right now? And are you rooting for them? And I think that when we start there, it goes back to that pebble and that ripple effect of wherever we're at, steward what you have and create impact right there.
I think that's such a great aspect. I think we oftentimes think we can't be leaders if we don't have a title. And in
Mhm.
fact, I felt that way at points in my career when I was a manager and I had a trajectory career within corporate America. And I got to a space where I had a title and I was one of the only women in that space. And it felt good. And then when I was going to make a change, I was going to go from managing people to individual contributor. And I'm like, well, are people going to respect me in the same space again? And can I be
Mhm.
that leader? Well, we
Mhm.
all can be leaders and we can all make impacts. And if we all do that, like you said, it's a ripple effect.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Brandy, share with us a little bit where people can hang out with you, find out more about the Power Project, maybe purchase the Power Hat,
Oh yeah.
um, and learn more about what you're doing and how you're making impacts and how maybe you can make impacts in their lives too.
Totally. So the easiest way, I mean, I'm ridiculously easy to find on social media. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram. Instagram, it's just at Brandy Voth. There's also the Power Hat Co on Instagram, just like it sounds. And then the Power Project is on Instagram as well. Facebook, we're over there at the Power Project. And I answer all of my own DMs. I don't have any bots that are going to message you. So you can shoot me a message that way is the easiest way to find me. My umbrella website is going to be the-powerproject.com. And there you're going to find a link to the hats, you're going to find a link to the podcast, you're going to find all the events that I'm hosting. Like when this airs, I will have just hosted one the beginning of March, in honor of International Women's Day, where we are just encouraging women within our communities to create impact in the channel of business, ministry, or philanthropy, whichever one that you fall in. So, yeah, that's an easy way. You can always shoot me an email, brandy at the-powerproject.com. You're going to hit me up easier in my DMs than you are in my email. And then, yeah, the hats, thepowerhatco.com. We provide transitional employment, and we also partner with nonprofits that are fighting homelessness and trafficking and causes that really align with our mission. So you're doing more than just buying a really gorgeous hat. You're also creating change and creating impact and making those dollars that you're already going to spend actually count.
Yes, and I love supporting social enterprise. It is something that is incredibly important to me. You also, something that you didn't mention, but you have a group on Facebook as well. Did you want to include that?
Totally. Yeah. You can come hang out with us. It's the Power Squad over on Facebook. Just Google Power Squad. You're going to see a white one that says Power Squad on it. And I'm super duper passionate about helping women realize their strengths, their gifts, and step into their role of leadership wherever that may be. So we have some pretty cool mentors and coaches that come into the group and offer legit free coaching that you would have to pay super money for anywhere else. Trust me, I've done it.
Yeah.
So, but even more than just like the mentorship and the tips, like you might be sitting at home thinking, I don't have a business, I don't have a nonprofit. The community of support and people that are building each other up in the group and offering resources is super cool and super rad. And I'm blessed by everyone that's in that group. So come hang out with us. It won't hurt at all.
No, absolutely not. It's a great group to be a part of. So Brandy, thank you so much for sharing the time with us. And amidst our internet pauses that our team is going to make sound like they never even happened.
Yes.
Because they're so awesome at producing this podcast. But we appreciate you, and we certainly are sending you prayers and warmth and all of the things so that you guys can come out of this safe, especially those that are most vulnerable in the Texas area as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to come hang out with you.